Over the last decade, I'd say Marvel has had a very rocky relationship with gaming. Every couple of years we get something really great like a Spider-Man, Marvel Rivals, or Marvel's Midnight Suns, but when you compare that to the early to mid-2000s where we were just getting great standout Marvel games one after another, things just look so much sadder. I understand the video game landscape is in a very different place than it was by the time of the early 2000s, but look at how many Marvel games are currently in development. How many games were teased over the last couple of years that we've heard nothing about? And that is going to be the main topic of today's video, Marvel's current state in gaming and what they could do to improve. Let's go back to the early Infinity Saga. Marvel had a current partnership with companies like Activision and Sega. Activision had the rights for X-Men and Spider-Man, while Sega was busy popping out movie tie-in games for all of the early Infinity Saga entries except for the Avengers. Now at that time, most of Activision's licensed titles became more shovelware compared to what they were releasing in the mid-2000s. It went from games like Spider-Man 2, X-Men Legends, Marvel Ultimate Alliance, to X-Men Destiny, Spider-Man Edge of Time, and tie-ins for the Amazing Spider-Man movies. This was where we saw the transition for what would become the current era of Marvel games, which is mostly on mobile devices. Now, I think there are a couple gems here, like I enjoyed my time with Marvel Snap, though I don't really play it much anymore, but my main issue is with the titles like Marvel Contest of Champions or Strike Force, any of those games that seem to just copy whatever the popular mobile game format is, and ultimately the lack of solid entries that we could be seeing on consoles and PC. I thought things were going to start changing for the better when Insomniacs Spider-Man was announced, that maybe we'd get a Marvel video game universe to kind of complement the cinematic universe, because then we'd see announcements like Square's Avengers game and the Telltale Guardians of the Galaxy game, but this ultimately really led to nothing. Telltale's Guardian game was fine from what I remember, but Marvel's Avengers from 2020 really set a very poor precedent for the future of Marvel connected to video games. So much so that I forgot it was completely delisted from every single platform in 2023. I hadn't touched the game since 2021, right around when the Hawkeye DLC came out, and I was kind of interested to see what the game played like in 2025. Now, I was well aware that the servers were shut down and all of the microtransactions were completely removed from the game, but it did still offer a somewhat competent campaign mode, the kind of thing you see on Game Pass or going on deep discounts on Steam. But if you were somewhat curious to try it out now, you just simply cannot get the game. This is why I use so much footage from Marvel's Midnight Suns in many of my videos. It is the most competent team-based Marvel game made in recent memory. And yes, Marvel Rivals also exists, but that is a very skill-based game, and I don't play it enough to be that good at it. And using mediocre gameplay footage in the middle of a commentary video just doesn't make that much sense. And gameplay is the easiest way for me to use B-roll when I don't have any interesting visuals to show people. When I talk about a project that just started filming or something that's just now in theaters that only has maybe like a minute or two of footage for me to use, gameplay is the best way to supplement this. But that's more of a me problem. Let's talk about the actual issue that so many Marvel fans are currently having to deal with. Currently, there are 6 upcoming announced Marvel games. Later this year, we are getting Marvel Cosmic Invasion, which is going to be a 2D side-scrolling beat-em-up, and that one is sure to be a lot of fun. It's being made by the same developers as Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge, and it's giving us a gameplay style that really works for these characters, and we haven't really seen since Captain America and the Avengers on the Super Nintendo. We're also supposed to be seeing Marvel 1943 Rise of Hydra at some point this year, and this is a game I am pretty interested in, but they just haven't revealed enough about it. We do know it will be a story-based action-adventure game, but are we just going to be playing something that feels like Marvel's Avengers from 2020? This is the first game from Skydance New Media, and we know Amy Hennig, who was behind the Uncharted series, is producing this game, but I really wanted to know what the gameplay looks like, and it's been 3 years since the game was even even announced. All we've gotten since then was a story trailer just giving us a brief idea of where the conflict was going to be, which, I mean, if you read the title, you know what it's going to be. We also have 2 games that received story-based teasers in the last couple of years. The first being Insomniacs Wolverine game, which I am pretty excited about. Insomniac has proven themselves to be very valuable with the Marvel license. The leaked early version of the game looked promising, but again, we haven't officially seen anything from this game in 4 years. Insomniac is usually pretty quiet about their games until they do have something really promising to show us, and Wolverine was definitely a victim of the early PS5 launch, where Sony was just showing as many games as they could to people to prove that the PS5 was a console worth investing in. We also have Arcane's upcoming Blade game, which I am kinda looking forward to, but Arcane is most recently known for Redfall, and if you know anything about that game, then the combination of them and vampires again doesn't make me too confident. However, they have had promising single-player experiences in the past, like the Dishonored series and the 2017 Prey reboot. But again, while the promise of a Blade game in the future is very cool, there isn't enough information or even an estimate of when the game is going to release. And that brings me to the final 2 things that we just kind of know exist, and both of them are coming from EA, so the certainty on whether or not they're actually going to see a release is pretty unknown. The first one is Cliffhanger Games, a new developer making a Black Panther game that EA will distribute, separate from Marvel 1943, but all we have here is a logo to look at. And we have Motive Studios, who recently did Star Wars Squadrons and the Dead Space remake, are making an Iron Man game, which again, since 2022, all we've gotten from this game is a logo. Out of all of these games though, the only one I'm confident will see a release date in the next year or 2 is Marvel Cosmic Invasion. There's an estimated release date of December 2025, and we've seen gameplay from it. And it proves a point that I've been trying to make for so long with so many different licensed games. The gaming industry is in a very different place than it was in the early 2000s when we received so many of the most memorable Marvel titles. Licensed games don't really exist anymore because mid-budget games are pretty much extinct, but you have a much smaller company like Dotemu making a Marvel game in 2025, and there are a couple other really good examples like Bitmap Bureau, who has a Terminator 2 based game coming out later this year. This should be the future of licensed games, allowing indie developers to make something that they would be very passionate about and can do really well, rather than getting these half-baked AAA experiences that they try and cram microtransactions inside of, or releasing a really great game that underperforms like what we saw with Guardians of the Galaxy and Midnight Suns. What I've been seeing is Marvel making a lot of the same mistakes that Star Wars has when it comes to gaming. And while I'm not very hypercritical of the way that Disney has been handling both of those brands, I do think that they've made some major missteps when it comes to video games. For every Jedi Fallen Order or Marvel Spider-Man, there's at least 2 other Star Wars Battlefronts or Marvel's Avengers. And if we get these properties in the hands of people who are actually going to innovate and utilize them in the best ways, instead of just chasing a trend, I think it would be safe to say that both Marvel and Star Wars would be healthier properties overall. That's gonna do it for this video though. Thank you all for watching, and please let me know what you think about everything I've said here down in the comments below. Again, thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.